Psalm 2 is about the greatness of God in the universe, in creating it, and the paradox in the smallness of man, and yet what God has done with the human creation in putting it over the animal world and over uh, the creation, and yet under God, who is the majestic creator. So there's a paradox here about man. And we begin. Lamnatseach al hagitit mizmor leDavid. Adonai, Adonenu, ma adir shemcha b'chol haaretz, asher tena hodachal al hashemayim. Mipi olalim v'yonikim yisata oz, lama'an tzororecha lechashbit oyev u'mitnakim. Ki reshamecha ma'aseh etzbe'otecha yarecha v'chochavim asher kunanta ma anosh ki tizkarenu uvenadam ki tivkadenu v'techasrehu me'at me'elohim v'chavod v'chadar te'atrehu tamshilehu b'ma'aseh yadecha kol shata tachat raglav soneh v'alafim kulam v'gam bahamot sadai tzipor shamayim udegei hayam over orchot yamim Adonai Adonenu ma adir shemcha b'chol haaretz. What a beautiful psalm. We have first of all a statement of God's majesty. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth, whose praise and is rehearsed above the heavens. From the mouth of babies and sucklings you have established praise for the sake of your adversaries, to bring to silence the enemy and the avenger. The psalmist is looking at the greatness of God in creation, looking at his majestic magnitude. I'm reminded of the song we used to sing, O Lord my God, how great thou art. Uh, and we know that from the mouths of babes and sucklings, he says, you have established strength for the sake of your adversaries. As babies begin to grow up and utter and begin to speak, it shows the strength of the Lord, and it brings to silence the enemy and the adversary, the psalmist is saying. And so human intelligence and human speech sets forth the greatness of God in then bringing to silence the adversary. And then he looks at the heavens and he feels how insignificant the human being is. Notice, Ki reshamecha ma'aseh etzbe'otecha yarecha v'chochavim asher kunanta. When I see your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have made. The heavens are just his finger work. That's his light work. That's light stuff for the Lord. To make the heavens is nothing, but to save mankind, that's tough work. That's sort of weightlifting work. He has to bear his arm. And so when I look at the heavens and I see your greatness, I have to say, what is man? By the way, we know that the nearest galaxy is 2.5 million light years away, if my memory serves me correctly, traveling at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. In 2 seconds, we zip past the moon. We still have 2.5 million light years away to get to the nearest galaxy, was my understanding. In light of that, ma anosh, what is frail man? Ki tizkurenu, venadam ki tivkadenu. We have Hebrew parallelism here, synonymous. What is mere man that you remember him? Or the Son of Man that you visit him? What is the human being that you give thought to him? And I've thought, when you see how many people are in the world, and then you see how great the world is, you say sometimes, Lord, I feel like I'm just a speck in everything. And the psalmist is feeling the same. When I see your greatness and I see how great you are, Lord, I have to ask, what is mere man? What is frail man, Anosh, that you are mindful of him? Or the son of the earth, Adamah ben Adam, that you give him the time of day? And yet, notice what it says. And yet you have made him a little lower than God. In other words, you made him a little lower, Me'at Me Elohim, than God. Now, we could render this than the angels. Sometimes Elohim can mean angels. But if we take the meaning Elohim in its literal sense, you've made him a little lower than God, than yourself, Lord. And you've crowned him. Notice, V'chavod, v'hadar te'atrehu. You crowned him with glory and honor. And how have you done that? You've made him to have dominion over the works of your hands. All things you have placed under his feet. And then we go back to creation. The birds and or the sheep and the oxen, all of them, and the birds of the heavens and the fish of the sea that pass, I like this, in the pathways or the highways of the waters. In other words, he placed mankind over the animal world. And my mind goes back to the contrast between the biblical account of creation and Enuma Elish, the Babylonian account. In the Babylonian account, humankind is only an afterthought to do the work that the gods did not want to do. To wash the dishes, put out the garbage, do the things that the gods did not want to do. So let us create savage man to do that. Whereas in the biblical account, mankind, humankind, is basically the epitome of God's creation. We are here to serve him right under him. But we have to be careful to understand we're not divine. We're just a small creature. And yet, on the other hand, he's allowed us to have this kind of wonderful responsibility. It's important that we wisely use it. And then he concludes by saying, Adonai, Adonenu ma dir shemcha b'chol ha'aretz. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. As I think about a New Testament application, I think about John 1, where through Christ all things were made. We're told in verse 3 that through him everything came into being. We're also told in the book of Hebrews, this very text is quoted in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 6, where it says, what is man that you remember him, or the son of man that you visit him? Yet you have made him a little lower than the angels. The writer of Hebrews is quoting from the Septuagint. You have crowned him with glory and honor and placed all things under his feet. And then notice he says, wherein subjecting all things to him, he has left nothing that is not subjected to him. But now we do not see all things subjected to mankind. However, we do see Jesus, though, who was made a little lower than the angels, crowned with glory and honor. And this happened on account of the suffering of death, that he might, by the grace of God, taste death on behalf of all. What a beautiful application the writer of Hebrews is making. He quotes this text and he applies it in the New Testament, typically, I believe, to Jesus Christ, who was made a little lower than the angels so that he could suffer death and taste death for humankind because of the fall. And the good news is he did that, and he has become now our perfect archegon, our perfect pathfinder, cutting the way through the thicket of death by rising again the third day and living. And today he's alive. I remember a song that we used to sing. He lives, he lives. You ask me how I know he lives within my heart. And I think as I look at this great text, I am encouraged to thank the Lord that he was willing to come to this earth as the creator, as the one who brought it all into being, and was willing to become human, and as a perfect God man was willing to pay death's penalty for all of us, and then to conquer death on the third day. And today he lives and he reigns as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He is that perfect pathfinder who cut the way, the Archegon, who cut the way through the thicket of death, that through faith in him, we too can have victory over sin and over death. What a beautiful text applied in the book of Hebrews to Jesus Christ.